I took my brother in after his divorce. He repaid me by sleeping with my wife while I was in the hospital. When I brought Tyler into our home, I thought I was saving him. Really, I was opening the door to a slow implosion. He showed up at my front door around 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. Face swollen, cheekbone bruised, split lip half dried and flaking. She threw a mug, he said, like he was reading the weather. That was his 5th fight with Lena in 2 months. This time she'd locked him out barefoot, and he'd walked 3 blocks to a gas station to call me from a stranger's phone. I didn't hesitate, just pulled him into a hug, handed him a cold beer and a clean towel, and said, "You're staying with us until you figure it out. No pressure." Rachel, my wife, wasn't thrilled. She came downstairs the next morning, saw him crashed on the couch, and blinked like she'd found a raccoon in the kitchen. "You didn't mention he'd already be here," she said flatly, pulling her robe tighter. "I didn't think he'd make it through the night if I waited." She didn't argue. She's not the type. Rachel's a quiet fixer, passive-aggressive in that artful, subtle way. Instead, she started moving things around, set fresh towels on the guest bed, vacuumed twice that week, left extra toothbrushes in the bathroom like it was a hotel. For the first few weeks, things felt manageable. Tyler helped out, took out the trash, walked our dog in the mornings. He fixed the jammed kitchen drawer and tightened a wobbly stair rail that had been loose for months. And every time he spoke to Rachel, he did it with this overly grateful, bashful tone, almost theatrical. "Hey Rach, thanks for letting me stay here. You didn't have to. I know I'm intruding." "You're not," she'd say with a tight smile, never quite meeting his eyes. But something shifted around week 4. That's when I noticed the little things. Her laughter, mostly. Rachel has a sharp laugh. Rare, quick, and usually reserved for old college friends or really stupid cat videos. But she started using it around Tyler, not the fake polite chuckle she gave my co-workers. This was real, deep, familiar. One night, I walked in on them sitting side by side on the floor in the den, flipping through an old box of board games. She was in leggings and a worn college hoodie. Tyler was barefoot. Their knees were touching. They looked up at the same time, and both smiled at me like I'd caught them baking cookies. I told myself I was overthinking it. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of bacon and coffee. Rachel was in the kitchen. Tyler stood beside her, flipping pancakes like it was his kitchen now. "Your husband's still alive, or did you poison him in his sleep?" he joked, elbowing her gently. She laughed, that same sharp, rare laugh. "You wish," she said. I waited until Tyler left for work and asked her, "Is everything okay between us?" She turned around, startled. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. You and Tyler have been close lately." She looked at me for a long time, then shook her head like I was being ridiculous. "He's just trying to be part of the house, and I'm trying to be kind." She wasn't wrong, but she wasn't telling the whole truth either. That night I couldn't sleep. Around 1:30 a.m., I came downstairs for water. Rachel was already in the kitchen, phone in hand, the glow of the screen lighting up her face. She didn't hear me. I saw her smirk, just a flash of something too warm, too personal. "What are you doing?" I asked. She jumped, locked her phone instantly. "Nothing. Couldn't sleep. Texting someone. Just reading something. Twitter. Go back to bed." She never used Twitter. 2 days later, I got a call from my body shop, saying I was needed on site for an overnight engine pull. An old client's Mustang rebuild had gone sideways, and their usual tech was out with COVID. I agreed, told Rachel I'd be home in the morning. The job ended around 4 a.m. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I sat in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner across town and watched the sun rise. Something in my chest was tightening, low and slow like a pulled muscle. I didn't know what I was waiting for. I just knew I wasn't ready to walk back into that house yet. When I did get home, I noticed Tyler's truck was already parked in the driveway. I figured maybe he'd skipped work or had a short shift, but when I stepped inside, the house was completely still. Too still. I walked quietly down the hallway toward the kitchen and paused when I heard something from behind the laundry room door. Low voices, muffled, laughter, Rachel's laugh. Then Tyler's voice, soft and amused. "You always smell like vanilla in the mornings." Silence, a long pause, then something like a kiss. Wet, quick. I stood frozen. I didn't barge in, didn't kick the door open or yell. I just stepped back, heart slamming against my ribs, and walked outside like a ghost. I sat in my car for nearly an hour before driving to a car wash just to kill time. When I came back, Rachel was making toast. Tyler had already left. She acted like nothing had happened. "I thought you'd be gone till noon," she said. I smiled. "You'd be surprised what can change when you come home early." She looked at me, puzzled. But I wasn't angry, not yet. I was watching now. Over the next few days, I tested them, dropped hints, left my phone unlocked on the table with a fake notification that read, "Find my iPhone, new login detected near your location." Watched Rachel stiffen when she saw it. Tyler became more careful, quieter. Avoided me unless we were all in the same room. One night, I pretended to fall asleep on the couch, TV still on. Around 11 p.m., I heard her phone vibrate. She picked it up and tiptoed into the guest room. 5 minutes later, Tyler followed. That was all I needed. I didn't follow them. I didn't need video, or proof, or confrontation. I just sat there, eyes open in the dark, while my wife and my brother whispered behind the door down the hall, and I started planning. Friday dinner started like a celebration. The table was set, real cloth napkins, candles lit, wine breathing in a crystal decanter we hadn't touched since our 5th anniversary. Rachel hummed as she plated the duck. Tyler sat stiffly across from me, swirling his glass, jaw tight. I was calm. I had practiced my tone in the mirror earlier that day. Warm, measured, a little nostalgic. Nothing that would set off alarms. Smells amazing, Tyler said, not meeting my eyes. Rachel did the glaze, I replied, smiling. She still remembers how to cook for 2. She chuckled lightly, maybe too lightly. I just followed your old recipe. Dinner rolled out smooth. We toasted, ate. I asked about Tyler's job. He mentioned some new management responsibilities at the shop. I nodded along like I cared. Funny, I said, cutting into my duck. Lena called me last week. Silence. Rachel blinked. Lena? As in, your ex? Tyler looked up slowly, fork frozen halfway to his mouth. Yeah, she found my number in some old thread from before you changed phones. I gave a light shrug. Said she's been in therapy, doing better, misses you. The room went still. Rachel glanced at Tyler, quickly, then back to her plate. I caught it. Wait, she called you? Tyler asked. She did. Twice actually. First time I didn't answer. Second time she left a voicemail. Said she's been thinking a lot. Regrets how things ended. Wants to talk. Said she's willing to meet if you're open to it. I sipped my wine. Looked at Rachel. She wasn't chewing anymore. Just holding the fork against her lips, eyes unfocused, like she was trying to control her heartbeat. She said that. Tyler asked again, lower this time. She did. He leaned back. Wow, I mean, I don't know, that's wild. I told her I'd let you know, I said calmly. Didn't want to get in the middle. But honestly, it sounded like she was being real. No drama. Just closure maybe. Or more. Who knows? Rachel cleared her throat. Would that really be a good idea? I mean, after everything? I tilted my head, watching her. Why not? Everyone deserves a second chance, right? She forced a tight smile and stabbed a piece of potato. Didn't say another word. Tyler shifted in his chair. Well, I don't think I'm ready for that conversation. I think you are, I said quietly. He looked up. I think it's time, I continued. You've had time to rest, regroup. You're back at work. You're stable. And I know you said you'd start looking for your own place when you were on your feet again. Rachel's fork clinked against her plate. Tyler blinked. Wait, are you saying? I'm saying it might be time to move forward, I said gently. Lena reaching out. It could be a sign. New chapter, closure, independence, all that. Rachel cut in, voice slightly higher than usual. You're not kicking him out, are you? I turned to her. Of course not. I'm saying he's ready. Aren't you, Ty? He looked between us, clearly panicking. I mean, yeah, I guess, if that's what you both think. I do, I said, eyes locked on Rachel. She didn't answer. She stood up instead, picking up her plate with too much force. I'm going to start the dishes. You haven't finished eating, I said. I'm not hungry anymore. She walked to the sink without looking back. Tyler cleared his throat. I didn't expect that tonight. Yeah, well, timing's everything. We sat in silence for a moment while Rachel ran the water, her back turned to us. I could see her shoulders rising and falling, not in anger, more like panic. Tyler finally said, so, she really said she missed me. I smiled faintly. She said she wished she'd fought harder, that she missed falling asleep next to someone she knew for years, not strangers who pretended to care. He didn't know how to respond to that. He kept glancing toward Rachel, who was scrubbing a perfectly clean plate with the intensity of someone trying to erase their thoughts. After he helped clear the table, Tyler muttered something about a long week and headed to bed early. Rachel didn't say goodnight. I followed her to the bedroom later. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, already in one of her sleep shirts, soft grey, oversized. I didn't mean to blindside you, I said quietly. She looked at the floor. It felt like it. You don't think it's time? Her jaw clenched. He's still figuring things out. It's been almost 8 months. He's your brother, and you're my wife. That landed hard. She didn't respond, just stared down at her lap, twisting her hands together like a nervous teenager. I sat on the other side of the bed, keeping space between us. You seemed upset at dinner. I wasn't. You sure? I just think bringing up his ex like that, after what he's been through, you think I was cruel? She didn't answer. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. You ever think maybe Lena wasn't the only one who lost something? Silence. I meant what I said. I think he's ready. Rachel nodded slowly. When? By next week. She stiffened. That soon. It's not sudden. He's working full-time. Has some savings now. It's just time. He doesn't belong here anymore. Rachel stood up and walked to the bathroom without another word. When the door clicked shut, I lay back on the bed, heart still, face blank, letting the silence wrap around me. And then I smiled, just faintly, because the way she reacted told me everything. Not guilt, not surprise, fear, not for Tyler, but for herself. Tyler didn't bring it up the next morning. He sat across from me, quietly eating cereal like a man waiting for a bomb to drop. Rachel barely looked at either of us. She claimed a headache and left early for work, brushing a kiss against my cheek on her way out, the first in weeks. It landed cold. By noon, Tyler texted me from the shop. You were serious last night. About moving. I replied 2 minutes later. Yeah. Think it's the right time. Need help apartment hunting. He didn't respond for 5 hours. That evening, Rachel came home late. No explanation, no groceries, no dinner, not even takeout. She dropped her purse on the counter and went straight to the laundry room, like she needed to disappear for a minute before facing me. I waited in the living room, pretending to scroll my phone. She finally emerged, calm but coiled. "So you're really making him leave?" I looked up. "He's not a stray dog, Rach. He's a grown man." She folded her arms. "He doesn't even have a place lined up. He has a job, a paycheck, a car. You think he's helpless? That's not what I'm saying." "Then what are you saying?" She hesitated, then sat down across from me, on the far end of the couch. "I just think it feels abrupt." "No, what would feel abrupt is me screaming, flipping the table, and throwing his bags on the lawn. I'm not doing that. I'm handling this like a grown-up, because I've been more than generous." Her lips parted slightly like she wanted to argue, but I didn't give her the chance. I gave him shelter, space, time. I paid off his last lease, got him a job at Russ's shop. I even covered his therapy copay. "I know that, do you?" I leaned forward. "Because you're acting like I'm kicking out some teenager, not a 33-year-old man who's been living under our roof for 8 months rent-free." She didn't reply. I watched her closely. Her knee bounced. Rachel never did that. She was always composed, until now. "You're worried about something," I said. "No, I'm not." I tilted my head. "Then why do you look like someone just died?" She stood up quickly. "This is just a lot." And then she fled into the bedroom. Tyler avoided me for the rest of the weekend. When we crossed paths in the kitchen Sunday morning, he said, "I'll start packing next week." I nodded. "Let me know if you need boxes." Rachel, on the other hand, had clearly entered damage control mode. She started acting warm, overcompensating. Made pancakes Monday morning, left me a sticky note on my lunchbox. "Have a good day, Faint." Tuesday, she came home with my favorite beer. Wednesday, she suggested a movie night. She even wore perfume to bed. I hadn't smelled it since the spring. It would have been sweet if it hadn't been so insulting. By Thursday, I decided to test her. After dinner, I casually said, "You know, I've been thinking about Lena's call." Rachel looked up from her wine glass. "I might ask her to come by next week," I continued, "just to talk, catch up. I think we both owe each other that." Rachel stiffened. "Are you serious? Why not?" She set her glass down carefully. "I just think it's a bad idea. You could get pulled back into something toxic." I smiled. "You don't think people can change?" "That's not what She caught herself. "I just don't want you to get hurt again." I nodded slowly. "I appreciate that." But she wasn't worried about me. I saw it in the way her eyes darted toward the hallway, toward Tyler's room. That night, I stayed up late on the porch. Lights off, just me, the dark, and the soft creak of wood beneath my chair. Around 11:40 am, I heard the floorboards inside groan. A door opened. Light footsteps padded across the hallway. Bathroom door creaked open. A pause. Water ran. Then, nothing. But I was listening now. I waited. 20 minutes later, the floor creaked again. And then, without even trying to hide it, I heard her voice, soft, whispering, near the guest room. A second voice, lower, muffled. I stood up, walked to the edge of the porch, stared at the window that glowed faint yellow behind the curtain. I didn't move, didn't storm in, just watched the light. When it finally went dark, I waited another 10 minutes. Then I walked back inside, locked the front door, and went to bed alone. In the morning, Rachel was already up, making coffee. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked casually. "Nope." She poured a second mug, set it down for me. "Any dreams?" "None worth remembering." Tyler came out 15 minutes later, hair still damp, looking like he hadn't slept at all. Avoided eye contact, grabbed a banana, and said he had to be at the shop early. I didn't answer. Rachel watched him go, then turned to me. "I know this is hard." I took a sip of coffee. "But once he moves out," she said, "things will settle. It'll feel like us again." I nodded. "Yeah." Then I looked her straight in the eye. "I think I'll invite Lena for dinner." She flinched, barely, but I caught it. "What?" "I think we should all talk. Get things out in the open. No more secrets. No more walking on eggshells." Rachel opened her mouth, closed it, then said, "Is that really necessary?" "I think it is." She didn't argue, just stood there, staring at the window like she could already see the storm on the horizon, and I let her. By Saturday morning, Rachel was a mess of contradictions. She made waffles, then barely touched hers. She cleaned the kitchen twice. She asked me if I wanted to go out. Me, the same husband she'd barely spoken to without flinching 2 weeks ago. I told her I had errands to run. I didn't. Instead, I sat in the parking lot of an office supply store, sipping bad coffee, and thinking about Tyler. When I got home, his door was closed. I knocked once. "Yeah?" His voice was tight. "You good?" I asked. A pause. "Yeah, just tired." "Okay." I left it at that. I didn't need him to talk. I needed him to stew. That evening, Rachel made pasta, the same way she used to when we were first dating. Extra garlic, roasted cherry tomatoes, breadcrumbs on top. Halfway through dinner, I said Lena texted me again. Both of them froze. Barely noticeable, but I caught it. "Really?" Rachel asked, stabbing at a tomato. "Yeah." She asked if she could bring dessert. Tyler tried to laugh, but it came out stiff. "You're not serious." "I am," I said. I think it might be good for all of us to talk. Rachel's fork slipped against the plate. You invited her here, she asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. Thinking about it, I replied. You said yourself it'll feel like us again once Tyler moves out. Feels like a good way to start fresh. She opened her mouth like she wanted to protest, but Tyler beat her to it. Don't you think it'd be weird? He said, forcing a chuckle. Like who wants their ex at the dinner table? You've had mine, I said calmly. Seems fair. He stared at me, blinked, then looked down at his plate. Rachel stood up abruptly. Excuse me, she muttered. She went into the laundry room again. That was becoming her panic room. I let her stay there. That night, I sat alone on the porch again. Same creak in the floorboards, same yellow glow in the guest room window, same tension pulling at the night like a frayed rope. But this time, I waited longer. At 1:03 a.m., I walked inside, past the hallway, and stopped in front of Tyler's door. I didn't knock. I didn't say a word. I just stood there. After maybe 30 seconds, the door opened. He looked at me like I was holding a gun. We both stood frozen for a moment. Hey, he mumbled. Hey, another pause. You need something. I stared at him. He wasn't wearing a shirt. His jeans were unbuttoned. His breath smelled like her perfume. I just wanted to say thank you, I said. For what? For reminding me what I'm capable of. He opened his mouth, confused, but I turned and walked back to bed. The next morning, he didn't come out for breakfast. Rachel did, but she barely spoke. She watched me the way you watch a fuse burn down, waiting for the explosion. It didn't come. Instead, I cleaned the house. I moved some of his things to the garage. Not thrown out, not damaged, just packed, neatly, like someone who meant every word. Rachel watched from the hallway. You're really doing this? I looked at her. You're the one who said it's time to move forward. I meant us. I tilted my head. Are we still an us, Rachel? She didn't answer. Later that day, I got a text from Tyler. Hey, can we talk? I ignored it. At dinner, he finally said it out loud. I think I should leave tomorrow. I nodded. That makes sense. Rachel said nothing, just sat there, chewing slowly, like each bite was made of gravel. Afterward, she followed me into the bedroom. You don't have to do this, she whispered. I sat on the edge of the bed, untying my shoes. Yes, I do. She knelt in front of me, hands on my knees. I've made mistakes, she said. I know I've been distant, but we can fix this. Can we? She blinked fast, fighting tears. I was scared, she said. When you were in the hospital, it felt like you were slipping away, like you wouldn't come back the same. And Tyler? I asked. What did he feel like? Her eyes filled immediately. She didn't deny it. That part was almost worse. I didn't mean for anything to happen, she whispered. Didn't mean for it to happen once, or didn't mean for it to happen again. She lowered her head. That's when I stood up and left the room. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just walked out, calm as water. The next morning, I helped Tyler carry his boxes to his truck. He barely spoke. Before he got in, he turned to me. I didn't plan any of it. I know. I swear. At first, I just needed space. You were in the hospital, and Rachel was. He trailed off. Realized there was no sentence that made it better. I closed the tailgate for him. Drive safe. He looked like he wanted to say more, but I was already walking back to the house. Rachel didn't come outside. She stood at the window, watching him go, arms crossed over her chest like she was trying to hold herself together. Later that night, she sat across from me at the dinner table. Just us now. She poured herself a glass of wine, hands shaking slightly. You're not going to forgive me, are you? I looked at her for a moment, letting the weight of it settle between us. I haven't decided yet. That answer shattered her more than any scream ever could. She sat there, shoulders folding in on themselves like the words alone had punctured something she'd been holding shut for weeks. I didn't comfort her. I let the silence wrap around us like a verdict. Because what neither of them knew, what I'd never said out loud, was that Lena never called me. There were no messages, no voicemail, no tearful apologies, no rekindled anything. The whole thing, her reaching out, missing Tyler, wanting to reconnect, it was fiction. I built it word by word, watching carefully as the cracks widened in the lies they thought they'd buried. Tyler believed every bit of it. He left the house thinking there was something waiting for him on the other side. A second chance, a woman who still loved him. I watched him cling to that hope like a man gripping a life raft in open water. He called Lena 3 times. Text even showed up to her apartment, the one she'd moved into after the divorce. She didn't open the door, didn't even answer. A week later, he was couch surfing. No job, no girlfriend, no savings. I heard through a friend that he asked Russ for his job back. Russ said no. Said he didn't trust a man who looked over his shoulder that much. I didn't smile when I heard that, but I didn't feel sorry either. Rachel tried, for a while. She cleaned, cooked, woke up early, asked me if I wanted to go hiking, like we used to. Tried to be sweet in that deliberate, hollow way people get when they know they're losing you. I let her try. I never gave her an answer. That was the worst part for her, not knowing if she was already gone. 2 weeks after Tyler left, I came home to find her standing in the bedroom, suitcase open on the bed. She wasn't crying. She looked calm. wrecked, but calm. I think I should go for a while, she said quietly. Maybe stay with my sister, give you space. I stood in the doorway. You sure that's what you want? No, she admitted. But I think it's what you need. She zipped the suitcase slowly, her fingers trembling just enough to betray her calm. Before she left, she paused at the door. I know I don't deserve it, but if there's even a sliver of you that still believes in the version of me you used to love, please don't throw everything away. I didn't say anything. She waited a few seconds, then nodded like she understood, and left. That was the last time I saw her. A week later, a single envelope arrived in the mail. Her handwriting. Inside, her wedding ring. No note, no apology, just the ring. I placed it in the drawer beside my bed and closed it without a word. By then Tyler had stopped trying to reach me. I think he understood. Or maybe he just ran out of explanations. The last I heard, he was working under the table for a buddy detailing used cars. Living in a shared basement apartment with 2 strangers and a broken water heater. Sometimes I wonder if they ever talk now, if Rachel ever tried to reach him, or if the shame was too much to even look each other in the eye again. They never figured it out. That's the part that still sticks with me. Lena never called, never wrote, never even remembered his birthday. Probably, but I gave him hope. I gave him something to chase. Just long enough for him to destroy whatever scraps he still had left with Rachel. They tore each other apart trying to protect a lie I invented. I didn't scream. I didn't explode. I just let the truth rot them from the inside out. Now the house is quiet. My keys hang on the same hook. The coffee brews at 7:10 like it always did. But everything feels colder now. Not broken, just quieter. Rachel's perfume is gone. Tyler's boots are gone. Their voices are ghosts in the hallway. And every now and then, I still open that drawer, look at the ring, and remind myself, they buried me. But I dug out quietly and left them both with the dirt.